Hello and welcome to Positive Fandom. I'm your host, Mmmm, and of course we have Russ Whitfield with us as usual. How are you today, Russ?
I'm great, thank you, Aram. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's sadly one of the last August weekends of the summer, so that does make me feel sad because I love the summer, and I'm gonna have to put away my neon tops and my '80s earrings. But
Uh-huh.
um, I've just enjoyed the summer so much, and I don't know how everybody else feels about the warm weather. I love the warm weather, so I hate to see it go away. Um, is it still warm in the UK where you are now, Russ?
Oh yes, it is. Yeah, it's still very warm here. And we've got more to come. We tend to have Indian summers for as long as I can remember now. Um, but yeah, it's a lovely day here, and what a week! I can see we've got people joining. We got Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington. Hello, Gary. We've got a bank holiday tomorrow. So in England, I don't know. Have you got a holiday tomorrow in the States?
No, ours is the following Monday. I think.
Right.
I think it's
Yeah, we've got our last bank holiday of the year tomorrow, so I'm sure Gary will be enjoying that. And we've got Retro Nerd Girl, the awesome Retro
yes.
Nerd Girl.
Yes, Retro Nerd Girl. How are you this morning? She says, "Good morning, fellow brunchers. Got my coffee." Well, good morning to you, Retro Nerd Girl. Good morning to Tom Jr. Jackson, my collaborator, friend, colleague, and we are all good people. Tom Jr. Jackson, our marvelous moderator, is here as well. Darth Plato is here.
Oh, Salway Darth Player. I've got to make a shout out here. So after last week's show, I get an email from someone that I don't know. Didn't recognize the name or anything like that. Turns out it was Darth Plato. Dropped me a line on my 1,000 year out of date website, and has subjected himself to the first book I wrote. So I sent him my apologies for that. So I hope you enjoyed it for what it was. And as I say, I apologize, but thank you so much for picking it up. It really does help. And yeah, so it's really cool that he did that. So thank you, Darth Plato.
Absolutely. Guys, as you know, Russ is a published author. He has published several books and a stellar series called the Gladiatrix series. I have it. It's within arm's reach, but I can't reach. I have to get out of the frame of the photo. But let me go grab it, and I will be right back. Hold on one second.
Oh, there we go. She's gone to grab the books. Who else have we got here? Retro Nerd Girl, Gary, Tom. I think that's about it for now, guys. So there's been a lot going on this week. I think we're going to talk about She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, do a bit of House of the Dragon, and I would like to catch up on the Warner Brothers news because it's close to my heart. Oh, Willie Woodward. Um, I haven't seen you before, Willie, I don't think, but hello and welcome. RM's just literally popped off screen for a second. She'll be back right now. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Mark Mitchell. Greetings and welcome to Positive Fandom Sunday Brunch. And here is the lovely RM back.
Yes, hello everybody. I just went off screen just for a moment because I wanted to show you um, Russ's book. Here's the first one. It's called Gladiatrix, and it's under the I can't read very well closer up. Flavian Emperors, the Romans' public's hunger for gladiatorial combat has never been greater, and the Emperor Domitian's passion for novelty has given rise to a very different kind of warrior, the Gladiatrix, guys. This is a fantastic book. Just one of the three series. Which one is the second one, Russ?
Roma Victrix is the second one.
All right. And so it continues. The story continues with Roma Victrix here. I figured I'd show it because I happen to have them like literally right here because I was looking at them. And then Russ has a third book here called Imperatrix. So, guys, all you have to do is go to Russ Whitfield's um, uh, website, and you will find the way to purchase these books. It's a fantastic series. Darth Plato, you are in for quite a treat if you haven't already read it. Please let us know what you think of it. Um, I assure you, you won't be disappointed. So I just had to plug your books, Russ, because they were
Thank you
literally
so
right
much.
next to me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was just saying hello. We got Willie Woodward. I don't think Willie's been
Oh,
here before.
yes. Yes.
Um, and we got Heath Tabletop and Fantasy, and
Oh, yes.
also Renz.
Hi.
Renz is here.
Yes, Willie Woodward, hello. Mark Mitchell, hello to you. Heath's Tabletop and Fantasy, hello to you as well. I do have something to say about Heath's Tabletop and Fantasy. Renz Tolentino, welcome. You all know that Renz is a fantastic artist, so do check out his work on Instagram. Guys, I was on Heath's Tabletop and Fantasy channel the other day. They are a huge channel. They deal with a lot of gaming, but now they're also doing a lot of live video streaming and shows that would definitely interest you guys. I was on one discussing women in fantasy. And so do check out their channel. But He's Tabletop and Fantasy also has a very interesting video cable show, or I would say cable show, YouTube series called The Cultist, and it is a parody show on Fandom. Guys, in particular, I believe, and Heath, you can correct me if I'm wrong, on the D&D world. So you have to watch it. It is incredible. I'm probably going to be reviewing it at some point, season 1 and season 2. It's a very clever, very fun. Guys, if you are a nerd like we are, you will enjoy this series. It is amazing, and certainly do check that out. Let me see if there's, oh, Keely Chow is here.
Keely's here. Hey, Keely.
Hey, how are you? So good to see you, and Joker voice as well, Russ.
Morning, Joker voice.
And so guys, just go to Russ's website, pick up Gladiatrix. And I assure you, you're not going to be disappointed. It's a fantastic book. And we have the author right here. So if you guys have questions about Gladiatrix or any of Russ's work, please do put it in the chat. And you can ask him right now any questions, and that includes you, Darth Plato, which I'm assuming you are.
Oh, Darth Plato just said Imperatrix means in theory Empress, and it could, but it also means general. So if someone did a really good job as a general, they would be hailed as Imperator in the field, which I think was a quote from one of the sources. So she's not an empress, but she does become something. No spoilers.
No,
But yeah,
that's
so
great
that's
to
what
know. It's exciting, Russ. This is exciting. And, you definitely wrote these stories about a woman way before people were even doing stuff like that. It's very interesting that you chose a woman as the main subject of your story. Certainly worth looking at and reading. I haven't finished the book, but I have started it, and I can't wait to finish it and get to the other two. So, guys, please do go out and purchase those. Rogue Thinker is here as well.
Rogue.
Hello, Rogue Thinker. He says, good morning, Russ and Tom in the chat. Definitely. I did also want to mention Retro Nerd Girl also has a channel out there, guys. So check out her channel, as well as Joker Voices channel here on YouTube, guys. So we can support all the channels and all of you creators out there. Certainly do keep us interested in having great discussions going forward. So please do that. Click on these other channels, subscribe and like them, watch some of the videos. Let's get that support continuing in this great community that we have. And Tom Jr. Jackson says, hey, follow me on Twitter at Tom Jr. Jackson. We certainly will, Tom. Tom always has the scoop, guys. If you want to know what's going on in the fandom, especially the PGS, certainly do seek out Tom's Twitter feed. He certainly will keep you very well informed, and Darth Plato does concur. Russ, Imperator can mean that, yes. And we are getting our Latin on today, everybody. We are getting our Latin on this wonderful Sunday brunch morning, guys. And he goes on, I love this, Darth Plato. I just love how you guys can start talking about this stuff. And Olberine, Bama, they both start with an A, so I was close. Well, you know what? I just find it fascinating to even touch on these topics, guys. We have OG Star Wars, guys. OG fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars. Good Sunday morning. And Russ and everyone in the chat. Um, Tom Jr. Jackson also has his own YouTube channel, so do check that out. Please do subscribe and like his channel. And hey, Retro Nerd Girl mentions that she has subbed to Heat's Tabletop and Fantasy a little while back, and she's loving the channel. Great content so far, absolutely. When I went on that channel, Heath had mentioned to me that they've had the channel for a while, but they were adding more live streams recently and didn't have as many. But the way when you go on the channel, it sounds like he's been doing this forever. He's just, and I said, this is impossible. You can't have just started. You guys are so professional, and it felt, quite like a regular studio setup. It really is a wonderful discussion to be had by all. So certainly do check that out. And Russ, this has been such an incredible last week of August. I've been super busy. I never want the summer to end, as I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot coming out. We have a lot of things looking forward to, but of course, people can't stop talking about, maybe 3 particular shows come to mind and some other topics. But before we get to those 3 very well-known and advertised shows, is there anything that we should mention before we get into the Green Lady, some flying creatures, and some rings?
Okay, no, I was just saying while you were off digging out the Gladiatrix books that those were the things we were probably going to touch on today was the Green Lady, the flying things. I didn't mention the rings, or what did they call it last week? It was really funny. Was it the cringe of power or something like that? But also, there's been a lot going on at Warner Brothers Discovery. Which I'd like to touch on maybe at the end. But shall we start with the Green Lady?
Yes, and of course, everybody, when we say the Green Lady, we don't mean the Green Lady of Envy. We certainly don't mean the Green Lady who's some, mascot for wealth. We are talking about She-Hulk, guys. And this really is something that has, made a splash, honestly. This series has spurred a lot of conversation, especially episode 1. And I had kind of wished they would have dropped episodes 1 through 3, especially after what I saw for episode 2. Now, it is very different, and we kind of get a sense that She-Hulk is a bit I think she's a little snarky at times for an attorney. But it's okay. I mean, I feel that she really does have a different approach to things, and her family from episode 2. And Russ, have you seen episodes 1 and 2? I should ask this
Oh
first.
yeah. I appear on Sunday Brunch. I must watch these things in advance of the show. Sadly, no, Darth Vader. We're actually talking about Jen Waters, Re-Hulk, attorney at Boar. Sorry, She-Hulk, attorney at law. Yes, so gotta say I'm not a big fan of this show. I I'm struggling to understand what it is and where it's pitching itself. It strikes me as a little bit mean spirited in its writing. I think I've said this before, and sort of unintentionally ironic. I was reading, obviously did a lot of reading around the show and what the people who the showrunners have come out and said, and the main aim of it was it had to be a sort of all female backroom staff, if you like, all female writers, all female producers, all female directors, and essentially that was the vision behind the scenes, which is all well to the good. But then, do we need to put a spoiler thing up, by the way?
All right, let
We
me
can.
put a spoiler thing up there. Let me see if I can do this really quick. I will create a banner, and it will say spoiler. Oops, that's not how you spell spoil.
Mhm.
She-Hulk E1, E2. Scroll across bottom, add banner. And let's see if it adds it.
There we go.
Okay, I can't see if is it there, Russ?
Not yet.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
There we go. Yeah, so the idea is the whole team was sort of picked because they're ladies, which is fine if that's the route you're going to go down. But then in the show, She-Hulk is sort of picked to be the lawyer at this rival firm simply because she's a superhero and spends the whole or a yet to be superhero and spends the whole episode complaining about how awful it is to be just picked because of who she is and not what she can do. Yet the entire backroom staff has sort of come out and said that we were picked for who we are, not what we can do, and they've said they can't write compelling drama in a courtroom. I don't know. And then when she walks past this sort of room of other lawyers, she's sort of saying, well, they never had to go through what I went through, and it's kind of, well, no, because they earned their place at the lawyer's firm, and you were just given the job, and you're not happy about being given the job, and it makes you feel very poorly about yourself. I think it spends a lot of time telling you, this sort of rule of show don't tell, right? This show spends a lot of time telling you what to think and what you're supposed to think about it, and then sort of seems to go out of its way showing you something entirely different. So it's it's very difficult for me, at least, to sort of sympathize with this with Jen Waters, because she's just not a very sympathetic character. And I know this is leveled at a lot of these shows, but it seems like there's this no man's land of, like, we can't ever show a female character in a Marvel property ever having to have any struggles, but we're supposed to sort of get behind her and relate to her anyway. So I think the show for me is fundamentally flawed. It strikes me as a little bit mean spirited in its writing, especially when um the lead writer, what's it, Miss Gal, comes out and makes jokes about burying, like in a female bathroom, the sisters in there will help you sort of murder and bury your guy if that's what's going to happen, and that's all fine. But if somebody else was to say that, it wasn't all fine. So let's just take a step back, and we'll take all of the behind the scenes stuff out of it and just look at the show for what it is. As I say, it spends a lot of time telling you what you're supposed to think and a lot of time showing you the opposite. That said, this second episode was not as insufferably teeth grindingly shit as the first one. And it was shit and I didn't enjoy it, but it wasn't as bad as the first one, which was bordering on the offensive in terms of its writing. Maybe this show just needs a little bit more time to find its feet. If you take all the behind the scenes stuff out of it, as I say, you know what, it's clearly not for me, right? This is not a show that I would ever watch if I wasn't doing this show with you, RM. And I don't know who the audience is supposed to be for this show. And it's interesting, though. I did find myself realizing that it does speak a certain truth. I was thinking about the first episode and then the second episode, and it is speaking a truth, but that truth, it's only your truth if you're an extremely wealthy, given it all on a platter California wine mum with first world problems. Then it speaks to the truth of what those people perceive as their problems and what they're dealing with. So it's quite a narrow window, I think. Now I could be completely wrong on that, but it seems that the sort of stuff that Jen Waters thinks is a huge issue in her life, it wouldn't be for somebody who's on minimum wage in the Midwest. But I guess for those LA people that have written this show and they're writing it from a very specific perspective, perhaps, yeah, I think it is speaking their truth. So yeah, like, it's a pass for me. I thought Tim Roth was excellent, and I thought that was amongst the best writing I've seen in this show so far. Is when when Jen Waters goes to see the Abomination, and he makes a compelling point. I thought I was the good guy. I was working for the government. Like he was the guy that smashed everything up. I was sent out to go and stop these. And look, and I've wound up in here. How is that fair? And I thought that was pretty smart, and it did elicit some sympathy. Elicit sympathy for the abomination, and I did like the way that they acknowledged the sort of oh, Eric Banner, Ed Norton Hulk, when Ruffalo turns and goes, yeah, I was a different person then, literally, which I thought was quite funny. And they tied it into Shang-Chi with the Abomination fighting in an underground street fighting club. All that was quite good fun. But on the whole, I didn't, I don't like it. I don't like it. And that's it. That's my little review. And yes, Gary, I'm looking forward to seeing Samaritan. I haven't seen it yet, but I must
Well,
watch it.
I'm going to take a few seconds to say hello to a bunch of people who have joined
Mhm.
us. And we certainly do have more to say. And I have some comments to make about what you said, Russ. Certainly, there's a lot more to talk about this series because it really wasn't, I don't think, anything any of us expected at all. Gary is mentioning the Samaritan show that has Sylvester Stallone in it. We all want to see this thing.
Mm.
Holy Hand Grenades is here with us. Hello,
Hey,
Holy Hand Grenades. And I'm following Holy Hand Grenades up with Heavy Hands. So hello to you, Holy Hand Grenades. I also want to say good morning to Norwegian Kryptonian.
oh,
Hello,
there he is.
Norwegian Kryptonian. It's so
Hi,
good to
mate.
see you. He says, hello, good folks. And we also have Big Dog Pound One. Hi, Big Dog Pound One.
He's got his mimosa in his glass, so let's go.
All right, we're about to go. This is about to go crazy, man. And we also have Dick Sargent York. I liked I'm seeing Tim Roth. Yes, I was very surprised to see him in the show, sir. I agree with you certainly. And we also have Thalia Meyer. Well, good morning to
Hey,
you, Thalia. Good morning. As well as who else do we have here? I just want to make sure.
Mikey's here. Mikey Leto.
Mikey Lito, of course. Always a pleasure to see you, Mikey Lito. And as we always say with his motto, watch first, form opinion. Guys, I love that he says that. And who else is with us?
Joe Tyson.
SB. Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Joe Tyson's here.
Yes, Joe Tyson. As soon as I get to that name, I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm going to highlight your name. S Beam, good morning to you as well. S Beam, a fantastic artist. Guys, do check out S Beam's YouTube page. He is such an incredible artist. And he also has his own YouTube channel and show where he discusses figures and collecting. Slot Car Palace is here with us. Hi. So good to see you. I feel like, oh, Evil Face Bad Russ is here.
Oh, hello.
Evil Face Bad says she hosts good. I watched both episodes with my mom and she liked it. She's 70. I find most of the bad reviews for the show are from dudes that show signs they have problems with women in power. Oh, wow. We're going to talk a little bit about this. Stubble McShave is here. Hello, Stubble. Stubble says that the episodes are too short. I will wait and binge. You know what? I agree, Stubble.
It was a short episode. I think it was like 20 minutes or 25 minutes or something like that. Yeah, was quite short.
Yeah, they could have done a little bit more. Joe Tyson, hello. Joe Tyson, hello to you. Such a pleasure to have you here on Positive Fandom. And Joe Tyson says, my wife and I enjoy She-Hulk. Thank you so much for letting us know. And I at some point during the broadcast, I had a very good friend of mine, JC, made an intro for me, and I haven't been playing the intro. And what I think I'm going to do is just play it, and it's only like 30 seconds, but I feel like it's probably something that could be played at the beginning and at the end of the show. So I might play it at the halfway point, at the 1 hour point. I'm going to play the Positive Fandom intro that CJ made for me. And thank you, CJ. You are the best for making it. Rogue Thinker also goes on to say, oh no, I think Rogue Thinker is talking about some of the things that people were talking about the show. I like the show. Is it one of my favorite shows? I'm going to say no. I think that the show reminds me of, and as many people had mentioned, Ally McBeal.
Yeah,
Right.
they were even showing Ally McBeal on the TV. I don't know if you picked up on that. There was like a shot of the Ally McBeal show as they were in the office, which I thought was quite funny.
Absolutely. And I think that if you like, well, first of all, I guess if it has to be relatable to anybody, it would be working professional who works in an office in a business style setting. And it doesn't have to be an attorney. It could be, any working professional who is in the healthcare profession, any administrator who does this kind of work. There's a lot of people who do this work who are stuck in offices 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, who do this work. And I think that they can relate to some of this stuff. Um, I think that the second episode, I think, and I'm kind of falling over my words because it doesn't feel like She-Hulk. The only part that felt like She-Hulk to me was when she went to speak to Tim Roth.
Mm.
So quite a bit of it felt more like what you would say was, a law attorney comedy or something like that. And is it superhero? I would say no. It's not. It didn't. It didn't hit me as a superhero story. And then you realize where the man had said that she has to show up in that form. And and I thought to myself, I just thought it was very funny. What else is he going to ask her to wear? Like, a mini dress, like how far is the appearance thing going to go for her where she's not going to do this anymore because she doesn't want to show up as that character? I mean, this character is not just a superhero now. She has to represent her as an attorney. This is a very, very different from what I thought the show was going to be like. I thought it was going to be more of her having fun and learning how to be a Hulk. Now it has to be something she has to show up as to work every day and be in court that way. And of course, we saw when she spoke to Tim Roth, she wasn't in that form. But Russ, even you have to admit that if your boss told you had to come in wearing, a specific type of clothing and looking a certain way, it would be quite a shocking thing, no?
Well, I think so. It's just it's as I say, the show just seems to be sort of giving mixed messages, really. So she's only got this job because she's the Hulk. He doesn't say anything about her sort of ability as as a lawyer or anything. Well, he does actually. He says, you're really good, and we'd like you to sort of head up. And then he just turns it around and says, but you can only have the job if you pitch up as Hulk. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. It just I find it a little bit insufferable, but I'm clearly in a minority. I was listening to Midnight's Edge the other day actually, and Chris Gore was on there ranting on about it, saying that what they should have done was drop the first sort of 4 episodes so people got a broader perspective of what it was like, and also that first episode was actually supposed to be it was edited all together and it was actually supposed to be sort of sprinkled out throughout the series, but they decided they wanted more Hulk up front. I'm not sure how accurate that is. But look, people seem to be enjoying it, and I suppose that's the main thing. And I guess it's finding its audience, right? Which is important. I don't know how popular it is or how popular it isn't, and I guess we'll never know. We'll only find out at the end of this season if it gets renewed for another one, right? Then we'll truly know how popular it was. But yeah, bang, not it's very very below average for me. I don't like the writing. I don't like the style of the show, but that's just me.
I think it's going to get renewed. Joker Voice says that's funny because the writing team are in their 20s writing characters in their 30s in a legal setting. The showrunner even said the show could be a disaster due to their inexperience. And as you mentioned, Russ, it is the writing. It is a little all over the place because let's be honest, that character that Menslavi, I can't remember her. I can't never say her name correctly. Tatiana is playing, is in her mid to late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
This woman is almost 40 years old. She's not a 20-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a mature woman. And, I think that's even more of a difficult character to write for. Joker Voice, thank you for pointing that out. Rogue Thinker says, not sure. She-Hulk 2 was a full episode. Did it have a final cut? But the link seems fine for a sitcom. And perhaps two of my favorite comments by Gary Bando Sandwich says, she's Hulk, go green or go home, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by Darth Plato's, it ain't easy being green. Um, so I think that that's very interesting. Um, Dick Sargent York says it's a comedy. I don't laugh very much during the episodes. And Retro Nerd Girl says her boss is setting her up. He's got something brewing. Perhaps the show will reveal who he's working for. Yeah, probably is not a legitimate firm. Why did she suddenly have to get involved with someone who, has had such a difficult relationship, in particular with her family? So your first case is the most controversial one you're going to be doing. Um, yeah, that might be a setup. And I think that she's going to have a very tough time. And it's going to be so difficult for her that I think she might want to pack it in. But this is honestly, Russ, we really needed to have those first 4 episodes.
I think so. Joker Voice points out a very key fact here. I'll read it out. So, according to Samba TV numbers, 1.5 million viewed the premiere episode, the second lowest premiere viewership for a premiere, tied with Hawkeye, which is not great. But I wonder if it will pick up, if it'll pick up viewers once word gets around, because I'm sure it's got its fans out there, as well as its detractors. But I think you're precisely right. I think that there is a general consensus of people, because a lot of reviewers got to see the show, they got to see the first 4 episodes, and they didn't get they kind of saw more what it was, if you like. So I guess that was a bad call by the production company, because the first episode picked up a lot of controversy, and the second show hasn't really broken any boundaries. So
Yeah. You make a good point. And Renz Tolentina says, I think they didn't let the first 3 or 4 episodes air on the same day so that we have content until Black Panther. Yeah, maybe they want to stretch it out, Renz. That might be true. And Rogue just keeps on with the well, if it is supposed to be a comedy, we might as well laugh about this. I would like to see a cameo from Kermit as a reporter with the tagline, "It's not easy being green." Um, certainly, it's very interesting that we're still trying to get or grasp the feel for the show. I think that alone is something that tells us that for a more complicated show, we might have needed more airtime.
well, this is right. I mean, Stubble picks up on this. Stubble says they needed to drop more episodes. We barely got to know She-Hulk. I have no idea about the secondary characters, and with a week in between episodes, you forget all the details, which is essentially what we're saying here. So yeah, Stubble, I think you're absolutely right. Um, yeah, it's we'll have to wait and see. For me, I don't think it's going to get much better, but you never know. It could, as I said, this one was less insufferable than the first one. So maybe the third one will be better, and it'll pick up pace as it goes along.
Now, Mark Goes Blind Gaming is with us. Hello, how are you today? Better late than never. And yes, we are talking about She-Hulk. Mikey Lito brings up something that's very interesting about the ho-hum nature, which is worse, the ho-hum nature of the show or the unwarranted review bombing of the show.
But is it unwarranted though, Mikey? Is if somebody says that they dislike the show and think it's crap, and they give it a poor review, is that a review bomb, or is that just somebody coming out and saying this show is garbage?
Yeah,
Because the review bomb, our show is being, or our film is being reviewed bombed, is almost like the sort of one of the de facto defenses that the company uh, will throw out now at anything that hasn't landed well. So you get the sort of toxic man babies, the istophobes, and it's been review bombed. It's like the go-to defense now, and I think people, I don't know, people may be starting to see through it, Mikey. It's kind of like, no, it's shit, and I don't like it, and I'm going to let you know that I don't like it, because this is, and I'm not a huge Marvel fan, so I've never really made mine Marvel. You've seen me get on my soapbox about DC and Superman and so on and so on. So this, I don't particularly have a dog in this fight, other than I don't like the show. So I'm not going to go on there and write a review about it. But if I'm a hardcore Marvel fan, and I see the direction that the MCU is taking, it's sort of gone from epic with mild comedy and comedic beats to sort of it's descending further and further and further into self-parody and slapstick, isn't it? You
Well,
know,
oh, I'm sorry. I say they keep the fantastic Marvel, but then have this as something that's an option as well. So please continue to give us the good Marvel we like, the superheroes that we expect, the way that they're supposed to be. And then if they want to do fun things like this, because I think She-Hulk could be a fun kind of series. Does she have to fix all the problems in the world and universe? No. Let's make it fun. Let's make it exciting. As I told you, I think she should go dating. We should see some funny things that happen to her. And maybe she decides she doesn't want to do this.
it's
Maybe she
interesting.
doesn't want to be a she.
As you were talking there, I was just thinking how how to do it and how not to do it, right? So you're absolutely right. This does tie into the larger MCU. We've got Hulk going off into outer space. I'm assuming Planet Hulk and all that stuff's gonna go on. And yes, you're right. This show can sort of exist in that universe as a bit of a comedy. In the same way that Peacemaker absolutely nailed it as part of the DCEU, and you could see that character fitting in, and he has fitted in as part of the cinematic universe, and he's got his own sort of like vaguely amusing show on the side. Whereas I think She-Hulk's attempting to do this, it's trying to be a peacemaker, if you like. You can look at it through the same lens as a peacemaker, and it's just not landing as well with people.
And I think that they didn't have to do this. I have no idea if this is what they're going to do. And I do want to mention that Joker Voice is talking about viewership. And that's very important to think of. To be honest with you, Joker Voice, She-Hulk has gotten a lot of press. So there are going to be millions of people watching this even after, the show is done, because they're going to say, oh, I didn't know that was out. I have a feeling in the end, it's going to get more views only because of the press of it. But thank you for sharing the numbers with us, because that is very important, Joker Voice. Tom Jr. Jackson says he doesn't like when they drop all the episodes at once. I agree with you, Tom. But certainly you guys remember when we used to get the pilot episode. It used to be a little bit longer than the other ones. Remember? It was like movie length, or an hour and a half, right, Russ?
Yeah.
And you needed it, so you knew what was going on. And this is part of the problem, is that I also think, and Retro Nerd Girl, you're right, people are waiting until these reviews come out. But I also think that She-Hulk doesn't know what she wants to do. So this is a very interesting thing. Yes, she is a trained attorney. But is this the right path for her? She also does not know this. Usually by the pilot, you know what direction the character is going. And since we haven't really had anything like that, it's hard to say. It was a 50-50. Was she going to take the job to that particular assignment or not? Who would have guessed that no one would hire her? These were all sorts of very unusual and unique situations. Had it been another superhero, they would have started their own firm. These are things that I thought about.
Maybe it's going to go in that direction. That was the one thing I was thinking, because there's rumors that Matt Murdock's going to sort of turn up in this show. So I imagine, as Retro was saying earlier on, that obviously it seems pretty obvious that the guy who's in head of the big law firm is going to be unscrupulous, and I imagine that she's going to do a Matt Murdock and start her own firm at the end of it.
Well, Mike Alito, I certainly do believe you, because I haven't looked at the numbers of people who are review bombing. I have heard from very good friends, Ion, who's another very good friend of mine, who I have conversations about how the fandom's, trends are, that this is the case, that a lot of people are very upset with the show. They're just really upset with it. And for those of you who are watching right now and aren't upset with it, we're not upset with you for that. We understand, we get it. We're not the kind of show saying you need to feel one way or the other. It's just interesting to look at the opinions and to see what's going on. For me, I can't tell whether I'm happy or upset with it, because I just don't know what she's thinking. And we need to know that in the main character, to kind of like decide whether that's something, we are going to enjoy or not enjoy. And both are perfectly fine. All the scenarios are perfectly fine. So I'm glad everybody is sharing their opinions about the show. Joker Voice says this is not She-Hulk from the sensational She-Hulk run. Jen loved being She-Hulk and got very friendly with the men. Ooh, very friendly with the men of Marvel. Now, I would have loved to have seen her get very friendly with some of those superheroes. After all, who doesn't want to be with a superhero, right? So
Well, this is right, and I think we spoke about this last
yes,
week.
you
She's
did.
kind of like a like Power Girl, she's of the DC. She's like one of those really sort of overtly sexualized characters, and it seems like an odd choice to deliver the sort of message that they're delivering in this particular show, or attempting to deliver anyway. But yeah,
Well,
as I say, I'm not a huge Marvel fan, so
well, I got a mixed message when they show her, you know, doing the shots with her friends, which is fine. We all do that. And then she's picking up a guy and doing speed dating, which implies to me that this show has to have sex in it. So, it's like it's almost like they tease me because, whoever is writing this says, "Oh, our like sex in superheroes and cinema and stuff. Let's tease her by putting in a little scene where she's with the speed dating and she's like, so do you like women who are green? Like this is if you're going to go down that path, I feel like you can't just kind of pretend that and, you know, not deliver that, because that's just, I think that would be kind of not giving us, like what you said, Russ, what they promised, like that idea of advertising a show in a certain way. And then in the end, you're not getting that. I mean, if she has to be professional during the 9 to 5 business hours and in court, that's fine. But at night, if she wants to cut loose, I'm fine with that too. This could have been very interesting, her getting close to some of these other superheroes. And it's not so important that we find out more about her, but I think what would be interesting is that it reveals something about the other superheroes. For example, as I mentioned to you, Russ, last week, I actually started to like the Hulk after episode 1, because I
mhm.
was seeing a different side of the Hulk that I'd never seen before. And I was like, yeah, I kind of like this man. And I was not expecting that, but because of the show, it came out. Because of that, because of her interaction with him, whether positive or negative, now I know more about him and he's revealed something about him. And I like this guy. Well, guess what? We could do that with a lot of characters with her. If she's forced into interactions with other superheroes, mainly because of her profession. We have to call Jennifer. She has to represent him. She understands what it's like to be a superhero.
But it's a neat idea, isn't it? It's a neat idea having a division that deals, like the guy says, these superheroes are cropping up everywhere. We've opened up a new division for superhero law. That's quite a decent idea. What does Joker Voice say here?
When it's criticism, is it highlighted? Yes. When it's criticism, it's review bombing. When it's praise, it's legitimate reviews. Review bombing goes both ways. Well, here we can criticize good and bad about the show, and we can review it. It's so I think it's interesting, Joker Voice, of what you're saying, and there probably is some truth to how people are approaching this.
Yeah, I think
There's
with this
been a
with this sorry, Aram, I think with this show, it's subjectively and objectively bad. It's badly written, and that's fine. But if you're enjoying it, it's fine. Like I said, Titans is hot garbage, but I love it, and it's really badly written, and none of it makes any sense. But I love Titans. This is shit, and I don't think if somebody goes onto a review place and says, "Look, this is garbage for this," I don't like it, and B, someone in the chat was saying, I think it was Stubble was saying, if you listen to the drinkers review of this, I mean, he said this is how they should have done it or could have done it, and this is they chose not to do that. So yeah, objectively and subjectively for me it's bad. Objectively it's badly written.
And Mike Alito makes a point of saying, I've looked at review numbers for all 37 Marvel Studio productions. I have not done that, Mike Alito. God bless you for doing that. And only 2 productions numbers are completely out of whack. I'm sorry. And Rogue Thinker says the review bombing is countered by the review hyping. Is it a response to the 10 out of 10s? Something to think about.
Oh yeah, 100%, Rogue.
Yeah, and is she as bad as Miss Marvel?
No,
I
I think
can't
Mikey's saying
say.
these are the 2 shows that were in his last one. He was saying that there were 2 that were given shit reviews, and it's those 2.
Yes. And for me, like my personal experience, we still have to wait to see the rest of the episodes to determine the comparison. She-Hulk is going to get maybe a lot more airtime, but maybe not. Maybe it will in the end be about as much airtime as Miss Marvel has gotten. Not Miss Marvel. I'm thinking of Captain Marvel.
Mm.
I thought that Miss Marvel from the very first episode was a great show, and I cannot
Yeah,
say
you
that
loved that. You loved it, didn't you? You absolutely loved
enough.
Miss. I didn't actually. I didn't watch that one, so I can't
The
tell you.
reason why I enjoyed it so much is not because I'm a huge Miss Marvel fan. It's because it was a decent show and I didn't have to worry about all of those things that have nothing to do with being a superhero. So it was just a girl who wants to be a superhero and it was
Hmm.
cute and it was for a certain demographic. It was not written for. I just don't see mature people necessarily saying they have to watch that show over and over again. I think that a lot of younger generation people could enjoy the show. But I also loved it because it was what Disney's supposed to be doing, which is making shows that are appropriate for children to watch.
Mm,
That's what they're supposed to be doing. Any child can watch that and it's appropriate. There's nothing inappropriate. My goodness, what a relief to be able to watch a show and not be scared that there's something that you're going to have to talk to somebody about after the show. Absolutely nothing.
mm, mm.
Absolutely nothing. Just her having fun, enjoying comics, and just it was just a fun show. Almost it could have been a Nickelodeon show too, but um I don't get the same vibe from She-Hulk, and I still don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that because it still feels I'm still don't know what she's going to do. So that's how I feel if I were to compare the two. But thank you, Mikey Lito, for pointing that out. That is a legitimate point. I don't think that She-Hulk is the kind of show that someone under a certain age can watch. Bloodsport One says hi, and Russ and chat room.
Chat room.
Um, and guys, please support Positive Fandom. You can send me financial support on Stream Elements. Thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson, for pointing that out. Hey, Slot Car Palace says, I'm not a reviewer. That's okay. You know something? We're here to share opinions. You don't have to be a reviewer. This is going to, just want to see how the community feels. Not being a reviewer, I feel no need to watch She-Hulk, even less so after listening to Russ or Critical Drinker. Show doesn't seem fun. Fair enough. Fair enough. And Mark Goes Blind Gaming says She-Hulk isn't a bad show. It's just not a very good one. They really should have dropped the first 3 or 4 episodes just to give us a sense of what it's about. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, especially when it's has its agenda and its overt messaging, especially in that first episode was really 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 on the nose, right? And I do think um, that these shows now are sort of suffering a little bit from this from a lot of the agenda driven content that we've had over the past number of years. And if I'm being honest about it, I don't think many people are prepared to give anything a fair crack of the whip anymore. As soon as they get a whiff of this stuff, they're like, "No, I'm not watching this," because it's almost like you're a whipped dog at this point. You're so used to being smashed over the head with the message. As soon as something comes out, and you're so looking forward to it, and then it starts trumpeting the same crap that all of these other things, you're not prepared to give it another go. And I think maybe by dropping that first episode of She-Hulk, which was just overtly, you know, on the nose with its messaging and what it wanted to be and where it was positioning itself, I think a lot of people, if you want to say review bombed it, I think a lot of people just said, "Oh God, Christ, not this again! Again, we've got this," and it's almost there's like a knee jerk reaction to these things now. As soon as it's got a whiff of that, people are no, I don't want to know.
Yeah, and Stubble makes a good point. He's on board with Mikey Lito. Watch first, form opinion, and make sure it's yours. Mikey Lito also says that he has personally noticed that not even Captain Marvel suffered the review bombing like these last two have suffered, and it surprised him. Well, thank you, Mikey Lito, for letting us know. That's something I think, all should be aware of. And sometimes it does matter how you react to certain things and
Well,
the things that you said.
sure, but maybe as you said, our Captain Marvel was kind of just like inoffensive. It's a Nickelodeon show for kids, and I think Mikey, this show is shit. And I just think people are just letting the review sites know that they're not enjoying it. The majority of people are not enjoying it. as I said before, it's subjectively for me bad, and it's subjectively badly written, as the drinker could tell you far more eloquently than I could. So is it a review bomb? No, I just think people are going, I do not want this product. This product is not what I want for this character. That would be my take on it.
Yes, and Stubble says, so far it's neither bad nor brilliant. It's okay. It's a good point. Now, Joker Voice clearly knows what I'm thinking. She-Hulk banged Captain America, Johnny Storm, even Juggernaut. What? Okay, I'm sorry. Well, wouldn't that be a different kind of show, Russ?
Mm-hmm.
And it would be more like the Peacemaker, where you kind of see the superheroes having sexual relationships, either with each other or with ordinary people. And that did grab my attention in the Peacemaker when he and I can't remember the other guy. You're laughing because I love that part, where the Peacemaker and that other superhero.
Vigilante.
Yes. Oh my gosh, she's so lucky. They have sex with that lady, and she's an ordinary woman. She doesn't look like a model or anything else like that. She wakes up, she's literally in bed between the two of them, smiling. You know, sometimes it's the little things, Russ. Sometimes it's the little things that make a show worth watching. Marco's Blind Gaming says Disney's rebranding is now called McPoo. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, you know something? Mikey Lito kind of rounds us off by saying, I'm pulling on a thread, but one view is that Jennifer dislikes being a superhero at the beginning. Yes, but by the end of the series, she comes to accept her status and comes to be the She-Hulk you know. Now
Maybe so, yeah.
Yeah. And so I wasn't quite sure. I don't think there's anyone who's seen the entire series. But you know, I don't even know how many episodes there are, but it is interesting. Oh yes. Retro Nerd Girl, this is very interesting, says, I want her to say I love being a Hulk. But she's grumpy. I just want her to start being a hero. Maybe it's something she has to learn. You know, I think that she would be in contact with Bruce much more. You know, she'd be texting him all the time. You know, like.
Well, I think this goes back to what Chris Gore was saying, wasn't it? That those lessons that she was having with him are supposed to, were I believe, if I remember rightly from that podcast, was supposed to be called back on. You know, so she would remember a bit of her training as she goes through, but they opted not to do it that way.
Yes, and you having some very good debates in here about how you feel about a trailer, how you feel about seeing the content. And a lot of times when I do things, I'll say I'm reviewing a trailer or I'm, reviewing a show, and, and it's pretty clear as to what I'm talking about in the title. So there's no confusion as to what I'm talking about. If I'm reviewing a trailer, chances are I haven't seen the show. And it's just the impression that I'm assuming they're trying to give me. So, I'm still holding on to a lot of the impressions that I was given in the trailer for She-Hulk, guys. Lorena Creole is here this morning. Good morning, Lorena. I hope you are well. Lorena says, first episode was extremely subpar. Second episode, slightly better. Jen whines too much. Lackluster effort by Marvel so far. And I think that, honestly, Russ, that's a good portion of people who, maybe somewhat of that opinion, and certainly you guys are having such a wonderful discussion. Guys, check out Lorena Creole's channel. Certainly do like and subscribe. Lorena and I have been streaming a lot together. It's been enjoyable every minute. So please do check out our reviews. And Lorena, I hope you are well today. But I think that her opinion probably reflects a lot of people from what I've been hearing, Russ. I think there are a lot of people who are kind of, still on the fence about it. So I think that is interesting. And now Darth Plato talks about, the fandom being browbeaten. And he can understand the rush to judgment. And I think that shows quite a sense of empathy towards your fellow viewers, Darth Plato. There are a lot of people who have been disappointed. And I'll never forget this one video I saw of this, he had to be about 12, this 12-year-old kid who had just watched the sequel series and how disappointed he was, and his reaction, just, he was animated and running around and really upset. And I realized, I think that these series do mean a lot to us because we enjoy these stories and these characters, and they are very special characters. They're characters that we all love. So, I think that there is a lot of circumstances now where we're seeing that, and we're seeing more of it because people are sharing more. We're seeing a lot more of that now. We're seeing videos of people sharing how they feel about this, and articles on Reddit, on all the different platforms where people can write now. We are seeing a lot of that. So certainly.
Sure, I think, and also, I must say that the online sources, the non-access media, I suppose, is that it's such a great term. I think it was Nerdrotic that coined that phrase, or certainly the first time I heard it. Uh, the the YouTubers and the vloggers and the Redditors and all that sort of thing are becoming a much more trusted source now than the access media. I was saying I watch things like Movie Web and Screen Rant and this Fancast or whatever it's called, and the sort of headlines that they post are sort of either designed to set off a flame war or are just so far removed from reality, that it's like reading a fantasy paper, you know. So I do think that the vlogosphere, if that's what it's called these days, has become a far more trusted resource amongst the fans than anything you're going to get off Empire or Total Film or Movie Web or Fandom Wire or whatever, because those reviews are never balanced anymore. They're literally shilling.
Absolutely. Lorena goes on to say, while I understand the knee jerk reactions, the rush to judgment seems to have become an epidemic of sorts. But I blame Hollywood for that. Certainly, we have seen Hollywood respond quite quickly and swiftly, and sometimes, with hit pieces that may be unwarranted as well. So, certainly, there is that. And of course, Lorena says hello to everybody. I know what it's like to be on a phone and not able to say hi the way you want to. So hello to you, Lorena. Such a pleasure. Stubble McShave says it's certainly Chico certainly is not a show for kids. I love it. And thank you, Lorena. Everybody, please do smash the like button. I'm so grateful to all of you. I am trying to get monetized. I need more hours, viewership hours. So please do check out my channel, subscribe to Positive Fandom. You can also watch me on Twitch and Odysee. And also, please go on and watch some videos. I have more videos coming out, stuff that I've done with Russ, which I have not shown yet, and other videos as well. So all that stuff is coming up. This fall is going to be incredible, guys. And thank you for all of you who have supported the channel, Martino, Stubble, Mr. Simpkins Jr., everyone who's been so generous and gracious. Thank you. SpongeBob Square Balls says, I'm fine with people not enjoying the show, but I don't understand this discussing of agendas. Show me one show or movie in the MCU that didn't have some sort of issue. All shows have a narrative. Yes, there probably is some, truth to that. So that make, I can't say you're wrong on that one. What do you think, Russ?
Well, I think Lorena just summed it up quite well. SpongeBob SquareBalls. It's like, yeah, the agenda is so overt now that people are just reacting to it, negatively instantly, and that's probably not a good thing. But as Lorena said, this is the fault of the people that are writing the shows. As your colleague Rob often says, if you start putting your agenda before your characters and story, then you've got a problem. And it seems like many of these properties are going further and further and further down this route of putting out a particular message, a social justice message, and belittling other characters, to elevate different characters. I mean, you saw it in Thor, Love and Thunder, where Thor has become like the butt of every joke in his own film. Yeah, and that's the road it's gone down. And these characters are beloved and have been beloved by people for, let's say 50 years at the minimums in some cases. So yeah, that's what it is. Square balls. People are just like, no, I don't want this. I do not want you to continue to denigrate every character that I love to push your politics du jour. That's it.
Yes, and Squareball says I'm all right with the idea of a reluctant hero, and Slot Car Palace makes such a good point. Tatiana Maslany is such a fantastic actress. She has been doing such a great job, guys. As far as I'm concerned, she's wonderful. She's such a great actress.
Mm.
Lorena, thank you so much. Says, guys, please watch positive fandom videos, please, and and live stream replays. I got to get monetized, guys, and I so appreciate your support. And so, as we kind of wrapping up this She-Hulk discussion, what I was going to say is I certainly do want to play my brand uh, thing. I'm just going to show it. It's literally 30 seconds. Rush, I think you saw it last week as
I did.
well. I'm going to play it. I think this is how you do it. I'm going to play it because we're at the 1 hour mark. I'm going to go to this. Okay. And let me see if it's still here. Is it still here? Let us see. Yep, it is. Okay. I'm going to play it. We're going to go off for literally 20 seconds and then come right back.
I love the synthwave. I love synthwave so much.
Well, we have CJ to thank for that. I love that. Thank you, Lorena. Thank you so much. She said she loves the intro. I love the intro. I can't believe I have an intro, which I am playing. I'm just playing it when I like to see it, guys. Thank you so much for the support. You all are so wonderful. Oh, thank you, Retro Nerd Girl. She says that she likes it. And
And thank
Bloodsword
you,
said that
Slot
was
Car Palace, who says, by the way, this is far and away my favourite show. So whether he's talking about us or She-Hulk, I don't know. But
I'll take
very
it,
nice.
even if you're not talking
Take
about
it.
my. We'll take it. Thank you so much, everybody. Music Gamer 460 channel for movie reviews. Tom is sending in a recommendation for that, guys. So please check that out as well. I love Music Gamer. Certainly does have some very interesting things in it, guys. Thank you for your support. And yes, Mikey Lito, it should be similar to so I do love that movie. I love Flashdance, and thank you, JC, for going out of your way to make that for me. It does make a big difference. No, Renz, that is not me dancing. I wish.
It's actually me.
It's Russ. That's right.
Yeah.
Russ has decided he would go ahead and do that for us. That's why it does look so good. Okay, thank you, Lorena. That is Kai of C4C on Twitter and YouTube. Did a great job on your intro. Certainly, I'm so grateful to him. I wanted to ask. I actually asked him. I said, "How do I put your name in the credits?" And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it." And I'm like, no. I need to know how to put it in. He's like, no, you just mentioned I did it. So, so I did mention it nevertheless. And thank you, Lorena, for pointing out that it's Kai at C4C on Twitter and YouTube. Did such a great job with that. And I certainly do appreciate it. And thank you, Bloodsport One. If you want to think it's me, that's fine. Slot Car Palace makes a point that that is not She-Hulk.
So he's talking about our show. Well, tthank you very much indeed.
And Stubble says, I want to see cut loose and dance to that intro. Maybe one of these days. A Rogue Thinker says, reminded me of Deadpool dancing. Well, something, this is a fun thing. We're here for the fandom. We enjoy pop culture. And I enjoy having all of you here, as well as Russ, who is the co-host here. And Russ, there's even more to talk about. And I have to confess, Russ, that I was pleasantly surprised to a point of obsession with House of Dragons. I want to get your opinion first if you have watched the first episode. And I'm going to put up a banner, Russ, just so people know that.
Oh, and she cut herself off. So yes, I have watched House of Dragon, and I'm going to try and fill a little bit of time here because I don't want to kick off without our. There you
I
go. You cut
keep
yourself off,
knocking
there, mate.
myself out of this
I
because I
know.
don't have my mouse and I keep using my fingers
Hmm.
on the mouse pad and I keep going the wrong way and sometimes it'll knock me out or do this. So I apologize, guys. I'm still here. Okay, I'm pressing the banner button, just one tap. And then let's see if I can pan down gently, ever so gently. Create banner. Okay. So I'm going to put House of Dragons.
Just yeah, House of Dragon spoilers. That's fine.
Okay, spoilers. Did it work?
Oh, spoilers. She-Hulk still.
Okay, let me remove that one.
That's gone.
Okay, and I'll add House of Dragon.
Yep, got it. Perfect. So, this was interesting. It's something that you said, and I don't know if you said it's on a stream or if you said it to me on the phone or whatever. But you were saying that these shows these days, uh, the marketing that they're choosing to put out with these shows is damaging the show before it even can find its audience. So it was interesting with House of the Dragon, or House of the Dragons, or whichever it's called, Game of Thrones. Let's just call it Game of Thrones, right? It was interesting because I remember when before it came out, there was a raft of interviews, and ladies came out and said, "Oh, it's all about the smashing the patriarchy and how terrible all that stuff is," and I was like, "Oh Christ, here we go," and then the show starts and you get this narration and it sort of starts talking and he goes, but she wasn't allowed to be the queen because she was a woman, and she wasn't, because she's a woman, she wasn't allowed. And I was just like, oh fucking hell, not again. But
Yes.
I'm not going to turn it off at this point. And once that was out of the way, and once the memory of the review, the nonsense interviews that they've been giving out and the nonsense narration at the beginning had sort of faded, the show was top draw. It was back, almost back to vintage Game of Thrones, right? It had everything. Matt Smith, like Darth Plato says here, chewing that scenery, showing us what a good actor he really is. And shame he's been in like, he's sort of been unlucky, hasn't he? He's been in like lots of crap films, but he's a really good actor, and his time to shine. I loved his character in the show. I loved Rhaenyra. I thought she was. I love how she looks. She's all got this sort of Icelandic look to
Yes.
her. She looks otherworldly as the Targaryens are supposed to look. The show was sumptuous. You've got Paddy Considine acting his pants off. You've got Matt acting his pants off. You've got Reese Evans act. Everyone was so good in this show. It was well written. It was violence. There was nudity. Here we are. We are back.
There was
Thank you.
sex.
Yes. Oh, Bloodsport didn't like it. I have to say that give it some time. It hasn't yet hit the heights of the first, amazing episode of Game of Thrones with Sean Bean in it and everything like that. But yeah, I thought that the messaging, like I said before the show, and the cringy, women, she wasn't allowed. Here we go. Get rid of that. It's top draw, and let the audience decide what the message of this show is. And I thought the people that went out of their way to sort of bang us over the head with this F the patriarchy stuff in this show. I get that the show is like about a queen. That's fantastic. Great, brilliant. Elevate her. She's a cool character. But this constant, when they get these actors out talking about these things, it it has a negative impact on the show, I think. But I'll put all that to one side. Was brilliant. Really loved it. It's 8 out of 10 for me, for sure. I thought the performance of the oh god, that was brutal. That scene where she's having the baby and they decide they're going to do a cesarean, and she's terrified. She knows what's happening, and just how cruel cruel how it expendable she is, as far as the maces are concerned. It's all about getting the air. And I can kind of understand that, in like sort of medieval society, like this is like a crucial thing, because the maesters and everybody knows that if they don't have a proper heir to the throne, there's going to be, like, another world war over it. And the shame the queen was expendable in that. um I thought it looked really, really good. um yeah, I thought it looked great. And the fight scenes were brilliant. I like that Matt Smith sort of lost his fight and then he's kind of, fuck off, leave me alone. Yeah, really well done, really well written, and not surprisingly, it's kicking the ass of She-Hulk and other things, because this was genuinely good. And despite the nonsense marketing, as Stubble is saying here, I don't think it suffered as much as She-Hulk did. I don't think it was as full on. There were uh, two articles that came out about House of the Dragons, but on the whole, that show is speaking for itself, and I really, really enjoyed it. I watched, like, the trouble is with Game of Thrones now, you're sort of worried that it's going to go go off a cliff at some point, because we've seen it happen before. But judging by what they've done with this, uh, do I begin to hope? Do I begin to think that they've learned the lessons of the past and they're not going to, tank this with, you know, current day politics, and they're just going to tell a good story about a queen of power and all the rest of it? That'll be great. I'm there for it all day long.
Yeah, I have to say, it is very interesting hearing your comments, Russ, which I agree with you 100%. And I also agree with, and of course, Mike Alito hasn't seen it, so he's heading out.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but Darth Plato says, as disastrous as the GOT ending was, I think it's better to judge House of the Dragon on its own merit.
Hot D.
Yeah, Holy Hand Grenade says that most people are saying it's pretty good. Lorena says, so far, House of the Dragon, I am enjoying.
That's
I'm
it, Lorena. That's it.
optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic, because you're just so frightened that this is going to turn into a dumpster fire, and there's that fear now, of it's kind of sad, isn't it? You kind of want to be enthusiastic about these things, but you're just so worried that now that it's going to go off the edge of a cliff. Or at least I am. I'm really concerned it's going to go off the edge of a cliff. But judging by the first episode, no, perhaps not. What did you think, Aram?
Well, in response to the shows, and let's say in the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of bad shows that made it onto TV.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff that was just not great shows. And they came and they went. And, Paul Shadow does a TV guide review where he'll review these shows. And a lot of them, were no good. So there was a lot of stuff that was put out there that was garbage. But so there was always going to be a certain percentage of these shows which are not going to be, flip the bill, be up to par. What I was going to say is, and despite the fact that Stubble is correct about the separate companies doing this, the marketing for this, and they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on this marketing, I think that the marketing was spectacular. And that when she made that comment, they had to almost clarify what was going on, because it doesn't seem like women are being excluded from inheriting. They're actually pretty darn important. And I think that that was something that was reiterated in the shows, that they have a different role. Men and women are different. And, I think if they can just be honest about that, which they are, and see how important the women are in the series, which they are, and how important the men are, which they are, none of that other stuff is even going to matter, because we have, a realistic story with incredible writing, the most incredible production when it comes to sets, production design, costumes, everything from every point of view. Even when they are showing you shots of people in the audience, it doesn't feel overproduced. It feels natural. And it's if you want a show to be natural, you can't insert things that feel unrealistic. It has to be balanced. It has to look right. And they did it here. Everything looks balanced. Even the part, and this is actually kind of a sad part, with the woman who passed away from the birth. and the dragon has to light the fire on her, at her funeral. I didn't know
Hmm.
what the dragon was even doing there, but it doesn't even matter. It felt natural. It seemed to make sense. Of course, you need someone to light the fire on a funeral pyre. This was, and this is what makes fantasy seem real, is when you have something that makes sense in the context. You and the dragon was respectful and there and very present and felt like an entity or an important part of the story, which the dragon is. And what am I really trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that no matter what might have been said, and I agree with you, that part, the definition, there are going to be people who have not watched Game of Thrones and do
Mm,
not understand how the progression of succession goes, because it is about, a lot of it is about succession, right?
mm.
So they just needed a little bit, they just need a little bit of information, and they left it. We're never ever going to visit that again. It's never even going to be brought up again, because we know from episode 1, in literally a half a minute that it was said,
Mm.
what's going on. But they don't kind of push the women aside and say, well, she doesn't really matter, we're never going to see her again, we don't even have to have, we don't even need to know her name, she was unimportant. No one is unimportant in their stories,
Well,
because
so far,
character deserves the right amount of focus and development. And that's why his stories are so successful.
yeah, I think so. And so far in this show, like they've shown that the Renaris is, strong and independent, and headstrong, and all the rest of it. But the guys haven't been denigrated.
No.
It hasn't fallen into the sort of, she's so awesome because every bloke around her is crap. I mean, clearly, Matt is already, what's his name, Damon. Damon is becoming like a bit of an icon. He's had one episode and already he's reaching icon status as a really cool dude, right? So he has his moment. The one character that is weak is the king, but he's kind of
Yes.
supposed to be.
Yes.
That, like, Paddy Considine is playing like a really really good role here of a guy that's, probably wasn't the first or best choice. He got the choice, by merit of his sex in this point, and he's become the king, and he's trying to do the right thing, but he's not necessarily, he's not as strong as Damon in terms of, decisiveness, but then he's probably more even-handed than Damon, and less of a, who, I don't know the books, but who may well become a tyrant, if he gets his hands on the throne,
And I
the
like
Iron
that
Throne.
he has this very odd infection that I think is going to ultimately take him out. He dies of an infection, this,
Mm,
maybe not, but I love that he has that, and he makes the excuse of it that it's because he's been sitting on the throne, I guess, and it's just
mm.
a minor cut. And we all know that's a lie. We know that there's something else, right,
Yeah,
Russ?
well, yeah, he cuts himself again on the throne, doesn't he? It's kind of like it seems to be a little bit of a, I don't know, I don't know, I really don't know what's going on. Has he been poisoned? That they're trying to get rid of him? Who
Yeah.
knows?
Did someone
You
put a
know,
little bit of poison on the throne, and then, like you said,
exactly. Like, it's literally the throne itself a poison.
it is so nice that we have these wonderful parts in the story that make us realize that no one is infallible in this world, in this cutthroat world. Um i i just love it. I think it's so, the makeup and the costumes are so important in this piece, maybe the best I've ever seen, Russ.
It's a
I don't know how.
bold claim, or it's a bold claim.
I know, right? I think it's not that they would be able to get an Oscar, but if it were a movie, they'd win for best costume design. So that's how I feel about it, and maybe even production design. Darth Plato says the Middle Ages wasn't even this insecure about women as Westeros. I love you, Darth Plato. um, Joker Boy says he enjoyed it, and I'm so glad that you did. Gary says that he also said it looks awesome. Um, Vicman de Santiago, hello, Vicman de Santiago says, should I finish watching Game of Thrones? No, no,
Yes, because you need to suffer along with the rest of us.
no.
Um,
Just watch seasons 1 through 3.
yeah, I think you kind of have to finish it though. I think, and also the last seasons aren't so long, Vic, man. So Um, it's a tragedy. Let's not go there.
You don't have
Watch
to
the mystery
watch
fan. You know,
Game of
you don't
Thrones
have to.
to
You don't have to.
enjoy House of the Dragon. That's what's so wonderful
Oh no,
because
no, to watch to enjoy the show. No, absolutely not. No, you don't need to have seen those first. No, 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 no.
And Holy Hand Grenade says, I have HBO Max and I still haven't watched it. I guess, seen it. I've heard it. Go ahead and watch it. You know something? You're going to love it.
It's
I
top draw, mate.
I like sex scenes in these fantasy stories. We have a few different situations, sexual situations. I do love seeing that in this type of story because it's realistic. We can't pretend that sexual situations don't exist in a world like um, House of the Dragon. So, we just have to be realistic about this. Now, Darth Plato talks about White Walkers. Um, and he says, even Game of Thrones kneecapped itself in that angle. Best not to mention it all. Okay, we won't mention it. We
No,
won't.
I think you know what, Darth Plato. I think that might have just been an Easter egg. I don't. It didn't strike me as the kind of through line that they're gonna pursue. It's almost like they have that scene and they have to say certain things in that scene, and to sort of portray the gravitas of this secret of the Targaryens that's passed down from ruler to successor. That scene had to be given a little bit of depth, and I wonder if that, because they've talked about this prophecy all the way through original Game of Thrones, right? So I just wonder if it was just seeded in there just so we know that it's part of the same continuity and so on. But for me, I don't think that's going to be a through line. I just think it was thrown in there as a bit of a oh yeah, no, we're connected to Game of Thrones, and aren't you a nerd and you remember that and all the rest of it. I just think it's part of their world building and part of their universe, and the gravitas of what Rhaenyra is about to take on, all about this prophecy. That's I'm not sure they're going to follow it any more than that. Could be wrong.
Absolutely. And Tom Jr. Jackson has Russ's
Oh my
link
goodness, thank
there
you.
on Amazon to pick up his Gladiatrix book. And remember, he also has, it's a trilogy. So there's two other books as
I
well.
feel like I'm being pimped, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay. Darth Plato says, what the showrunners and Martin doesn't seem to get is that a time period like this strongly emphasized family politics much more than the modern era, and succession was a big deal. These aren't normal families. And I think that you make a good point. These are not normal families. They are in charge. They're the rulers. Certainly there is drama, and I would liken it, although it's not the same. And although the same actor was in it, to The Crown, although perhaps less cutthroat. And I'm talking about the Crown series on Netflix. If you've ever watched it, to
Do you know
understand.
what? I haven't, and I keep meaning to. It's one of those things that I just I'll watch it later, and I never get around to it. So
Well, I think there are certain elements of it that to understand, at least Darth Plato for me. And it's funny that that actor who is now starring in House of the Dragon was also a star in The Crown. Certainly knows how to play someone who is a leader or a royal, if you will, since they are royals in this realm as well. So I think he played Prince Philip in The Crown, which is a highly acclaimed series about the British royal family. So, incidentally, guys, I'm going to be coming out with a review of the new Princess Diana HBO documentary that has just come out. I think it's HBO, which I reviewed on the channel here on Positive Fandom probably this week. So certainly do check that out. But in regards to that comment, Darth Plato, you make a good point. They're not ordinary families. This is an ordinary person. And so it shouldn't be treated as such. I think that the writing shows so much respect for these characters. And honestly, even though the king did what he did, I honestly do feel that he loved his wife. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but considering the circumstances, life, we have to make tough decisions. And you know something? There's probably someone in a hospital right now making that same very decision. So we
oh,
certainly,
you could see Considine. It was a tour de force, wasn't it? It's Paddy Considine. He's a brilliant actor. You could see he was agonised. He was torn. Yeah, he didn't know what to do. And this is you see, that's set up and payoff right there. You could see that he's a weak king and that he doesn't know what to do, and he's going to do what the maester tells him. And it's Matt. And then when Matt Smith delivers the line, "You are weak," later on. Well, we know that. We've already seen that. It's just, oh, thank you, writers.
Beautiful scene. And he was, Russ, you are so right. He was agonized by it. And, to be honest with you, that's a decision none of us want to have to make. So to show it, and I remember watching another show, and I'm sorry guys for this. I've watched Outlander, and I'm a huge Outlander fan. And in the first, I think it's in season 1, there are some uncomfortable things that happen to one of the main characters, Jamie, and they actually have a scene where he's essentially getting assaulted in the show. And I've discussed this with my mother ad nauseum about seeing it. And she's like, well, they have to be realistic about what happened. People this did happen to people. And, for them to show it and to actually film a scene where it's occurring was pretty important because, to verbally say it's not going to have the same gravity or importance to it. So I thought about that for a while and tried to mull it over in my head. And I said, for a writer to be able to have the confidence to portray something that's so difficult to show on camera, it does take a lot of guts. Russ, was it R.R. Martin who wrote this? Did he do this?
What, the House of the Dragon?
I mean, the
Yeah.
screenplay for this show. Yes.
No. He was involved in the writing of
He
it,
was involved.
and overseeing it. No, I don't think he writes screenplays, Martin. I don't know.
Okay. Well, regardless, he created these characters which have so much depth and honestly feel quite real. I've been enjoying it. Everything about it is so well done. So Holy Hand Grenades, is that what we have up there? I can't see.
Yes, Holy Hand Grenades, yeah. And he's talking to Vickman.
Yes. Yes, he agrees with us, Vickman. This happens before Game of Thrones, so you don't have to worry. You don't have to have watched it. Marco's Blinding says, I agree 100% with House of Dragons. Was sold to me as feminist nonsense. And I was rolling my eyes at the beginning narration, but the show was awesome. Now, this is something that's very interesting. And, I think that if a show does this, can we overlook what it did? Like, for example, I felt that Batman did that. There was one comment, maybe it wasn't feminine nonsense, but or whatever.
It was woke nonsense. It was woke nonsense.
There was one comment that was, I felt, unfounded because she's talking about gangsters, and there's no way gangsters have any kind of privilege. They're criminals. Even if you are a public official and you're a criminal, you're still a criminal. So you don't have any kind of advantage over anyone else. You're a criminal. You're breaking the law. Your advantage is that you are taking advantage of someone, not because it was just there and set for you.
That line felt so crowbarred into that scene. It's kind of like, oh, really? And I think a lot of people have picked up on it. It didn't ruin the movie, but it really did stick out like it just stuck out as a completely unnatural thing to say. And what was a 10 out of 10 movie for me anyway.
Yeah. And, I think that the fact that so many people are watching it and they're like, yeah, okay, we did hear that. It didn't spoil it. Maybe it's about delivery as well, Russ.
Maybe.
I don't know. That could have been a line that was written so long ago, 4 or 5 years ago, before this was even an issue, or something that a lot of other artists were focusing on, perhaps not for the sake of telling a good story, but for the sake of, making a point or whatever.
But it was just it was really daft because, she's sort of talking to a sort of, rich white billionaire. It just was just really stupid. It was just really, really.
Well, so the fault is on her because after all, it wasn't he was a victim of circumstance and nothing more. But for her to say that about criminals, and I don't care if they are officials who work for the city, those men were corrupt, criminals under the guise of being legitimate politicians or whatever ranking they had. They were gangsters, just like the man who was her father. They were no different from him. So, I think that was a completely unfounded comment. They're crooks, they're thieves. She was hanging out with the wrong types of guys. Exactly. So Darth Vader talks about children of a ruling family and being property of a dynasty. And that's what her mother was trying to tell her. And I
Mm,
think, oh boy, her mother was such a beautiful woman, a lovely lady, beautiful woman. And, she also talks about mourning the death of a child and miscarriages, which is also a very uncomfortable, thorny issue to talk about anyway. Um, and it is unfortunately a common occurrence for many women, and consequently the men who are with them also have to experience it, so it's not just always a solo situation, right? So
right.
a family is experiencing this loss, and I felt for her for that. This woman, boy, she's as tough as nails. I feel sorry that her daughter has lost this mother who was so wonderful and beautiful. I worried that she won't have another. Well, you can never replace your mother, but to have that type of support from your mother, and for her to be such a kind, sweet lady, and to lose her like that, it also broke my heart there as well.
Well, it's
So
intriguing, isn't it? I can't wait. This is tomorrow, isn't it? The next one.
is it?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's Mondays it comes out.
I
But you know
mean,
what?
we're excited for it, right,
Yeah, I
Russ?
can't wait. I can't wait. But you know what? That does segue nicely into. I guess we can. Yeah, it's Paddy Considine Stubble. Yeah, he's a brilliant actor. Uh, but it's an HBO production. It's a Warner Brothers Discovery production. And Warner Brothers Discovery have really, really, really been in the news of late. Um, I don't know if you've been following this at all, or do you want to pick up on this one by Rogue before
I
we
do
before
want
we
to make
move on?
a comment about this. And Rogue Thinker, I'm glad you popped that out and said this. Um, the reason why I'm glad you said this is because it has to do with that other movie that Jane Champion directed called Wag the Dog or something of the dog, was going to win all these awards. It didn't win every award, but she won for Best Director. And the reason why I think it's interesting that you bring this up is because I don't feel that the show is about that at all. I mean, I understand what you're talking about, the interviews and attempting to rule and all this sort of stuff, and I'm piggybacking on what you're saying only because in that film, the cast and crew commented about what the movie was supposed to be about, and when I saw the movie, it was, to me, it was nothing about that. I felt that the movie was about a man who was experiencing feelings for someone else and was hiding these feelings, and that they did this very creative tunnel thing where he would go into this tunnel in his little cave where he hid all these trinkets and things that were important to him, and he kind of has feelings for or falls in love with his sister-in-law's son. And it became awkward, and he was in a situation where he didn't know whether the son accepted the feelings or whether the son was repulsed by them. And I thought that that was a very interesting concept because, I think it's interesting to have a male figure and focus on his feelings.
Mm,
And what does it mean when you're confronted with something for the first time by someone who looks incredibly innocent? The boy that he kind of had these feelings for was incredibly innocent. And how's he going to handle this? He ends up killing himself, I think, in the story. It was so poignant, so powerful. I felt that the performance that he did was, and the young man, was incredible, but no one focused on that. All they kept saying was about how bad men were and all this other stuff. And I'm like, that's not what this movie was about. Couldn't you guys see the how important this relationship he had with himself and his self-esteem was? I mean, so I get worried sometimes when these interviews come out and the cast will say these different things about it, and they're perfectly entitled to say whatever they want to say about the film, but or show. But that's how I felt about it, and I certainly do have a different opinion from what you're mentioning, Rogue Thinker. I mean, what do you think, Russ?
I I um I just wish that I wish they wouldn't come out with this sort of stuff. And it's not that they're all entitled to say what they want to say, because if you're not on, let's say, to the left of center and you say something, you tend to get censured. For example, there's a young actress called Sydney Sweeney, and she had a birthday party for her mum, who was her 60th birthday, and her mates at the party had red hats on and it said "Make 60 Great Again." And now the pitchfork mob have come out and trying to cancel her for being some sort of Trump supporter. And she's come out, she says, "My mum's 60th birthday, we were having a laugh." You've got the Gina Carano thing where she comes out and says something and she gets censured. But if you're on the other side of the fence, you can say whatever you want. And I just wish they wouldn't say anything, because as Lorenia was alluding to earlier on, if you are not of that persuasion, you just you've got this reaction to it now. It's like, and I just wish that they would let us form our own opinions about what the show is and what it isn't, and we can come away with our own messages. Don't need you to come out and tell me. It's like with Andor. Apparently, it's amusing on the Trumpian era and things like that. It's like, oh, really? Why is it that? Why can't it just be Star Wars? Why can't it just be Star Wars?
Well, I do want to mention that Tom Jr. Jackson said that there's a book. Go ahead and pick it up. I put it there. It's in the chat about this series. Thank you, Tom, as always. Mark Goes Blind Gaming says that he loved Matt Smith in House of Dragons. Great writing, acting. There is definitely some woke feminist agenda crap, but didn't notice because it was written so well. Okay, that's fair. And and Darth Plagueis getting even deeper into this, far beyond my understanding, honestly. The problem that with female succession is that the dynasty ends and the husband's family now has potential access to the heredity lands of the ruling house. Okay, fair enough. Gary Bando Sandwich says, hey, they need to get some sanitizer for that throne. It's definitely some kind of chafing, and that's why he has the wound. And I don't think the cauterization is going to do anything. I think that wound is going to get bigger and bigger and so disgusting. Well, that's a discussion for another time. Maybe it's a metaphor for something else, right? Right, Russ?
Yeah, probably the sort of cancer of the inside of the House of Targaryen or whatever.
Retro Nerd Girl says everything in the show is built in this grounded world. The storytelling is pretty solid, and this is what is working in the series. There is set up and payoff. This builds intrigue for the show. Absolutely. And let's see.
100% retro.
Yes. Joker Boy says just avoid season 8 of Game of Thrones. Agreed. And Stubble says that you get some Easter eggs in House of the Dragon if you've watched Game of Thrones, but you don't have to watch it. Okay. Well, you know something, Marco's Blind Gaming. I know you've got to jump to your kids. Hey, that's cool. We certainly did enjoy having you here, Marco's Blind Gaming, and enjoy the rest of your day. And Slot Car Palace says, I'm only interested in shows about royalty if there's lots of sex and stabbing. Well, you might be in the right place. Certainly, what I thought was a very interesting sex scene. And I've always talked about sex scenes and how they can advance a story. These intimate scenes, because a sex scene a lot of times is a very intimate act. And there's a scene where the prince has this intimate act with this woman who, I don't know who she is, but she talks about how he's a prince and that he should have more confidence and no one can take advantage of him. And she kind of gives him a hug, during the scene or whatever the situation is. And I liked that scene. I like to see intimate acts and a lot of embracing and lines that are very important. He has a sense of insecurity about whether or not he is important in the kingdom. What do you think, Russ?
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite nuanced, and although he goes around chewing scenery and doing all that kind of thing in his quieter moments, he's suffering from a crisis of confidence. Is he all that he thinks he is? He was defeated in the joust. He's been banished from the kingdom, but he's kind of awesome at the same time. It's a character with depths and character with depth and layer. And is he a good person? Is he a bad person? Well, it's Game of Thrones, so he's probably neither and both. But as I said earlier on, it seems to have recaptured the magic of the original Game of Thrones before it tanked.
Definitely. And apparently you can bring back the magic. And this was a question that we had or have talked about before, Russ, about a lot of these franchises. And I know that people are upset, and I've been upset and disappointed in some of the directions that the franchises are going. But I think that this shows you can bring a franchise back, even after a disappointment. You can bring the passion and the enjoyment of a franchise back if done the right way. And at least that's what it says to me. Stubble says, I would call the king human and compassionate rather than weak, but maybe those qualities are weakness in their role.
Perhaps so, Stubble. That's a great point. It's a great point. he didn't strike me as a particularly strong leader, and that's what Damon is pointing out. But no, you're quite right. But I think it was the way that he. Okay, the Queen was going to die anyway, but you could sort of tell he was waiting for the Maester's almost his permission to do it. Just to be told what to do by the Maester instead of him making that decision. I don't know, but look, it was really cool.
Yes, and hello, John Ware Jr. It's a pleasure to see you here. Joker Voice says, "Oh, you mentioned Outlander, a cheap romance novel put to screen. My ex-wife loved it. I hated it. LOL." Well, Joker Voice, I do want to mention that there is a lot of sex in Outlander, and it is tasteful. It's not any. I think it's a beautiful show with some lovely sex scenes that are romantic, and it's kind of like, yes, it is like a Barbara Cartland novel, but that's okay. It is historical and fun to look at sex in a historical context and what happens if you get transported to another time period. You know how much people love costume dramas. This certainly is one that I thought was fun and enjoyable. It did have sex in it. I'm so glad that they made it mature for people to enjoy. And yes, I suppose it is like a cheap romance novel, but sometimes you can even enjoy a cheap romance novel if it's done the right way. Joker Voice, and I think that that's very interesting. Tom Jr. Jackson says positive fandom. Yes. The name of the doc is called The Princess, and it's on HBO and HBO Max. And so I have watched this documentary a few times. And for those of you who don't know, I am an Anglophile, which means I love, all things British, including, British royals as well as British television, novels, the works. So in the 80s, I was a huge fan and probably still am a huge fan of the late Princess Diana. And there have been many, 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 many documentaries about Princess Diana. And this was one of the best ones that I've ever seen made of her. Certainly, one of the things that I do like about the documentary is that it is more, let's say if I'm looking at it from an American point of view, let's say American point of view versus a British point of view, I think the documentary does not focus on whether or not a judgment should be made about anyone. It's more of the British point of view, and I love it. I think it's tastefully done, and I think that it honors her memory. So this is something about it that I do love. There's no real idea of what do we make of this person. Rather, let's remember the things that happened and primarily focus on some of the better things without getting too judgmental. So that's how I looked at it. Do check it out. As Tom Jr. Jackson says, it's called The Princess. It's on HBO and HBO Max. So if you have that, you can watch it for free. As I said, I would recommend it for some of you who may not even know who I'm talking about, although I think most of you do. It is the late Princess Diana, and certainly a documentary that I feel definitely did justice to her memory. So, Russ, have you seen this documentary?
No.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to what we were talking about. Back to our topic here. And wow, we are kind of running out of time. I did just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Yes, and thank you, Russ. It was The Power of the Dog. That was Jane Campion's movie. Russ, was there anything else that you wanted to mention today before we close out the show?
Just to say that it looks like Warner Brothers Discovery, the latest rumor from there is they might have found their Kevin Feige and a guy called Dan Lin, who comes with a little bit of a track record. He was going to be the producer of Justice League Mortal. Thank you. I was going to say bring this one up. So Retro Nergo says, I think Dan Lin's going to make a great head of DC Films for his passion for the Justice League. I hope we get some amazing content from them. Me too. And someone else was posting about Warner Brothers Discovery's strategy of dropping a lot of shows that they don't think are going to be profitable, that have a certain leaning and whatever. Um, and I think that this is all to the good. And I rather think that maybe Warner Brothers are going to capitalize on this period of malaise that Marvel are going through. Um, what we don't know is, of course, what direction the DCEU is going to take. Jason Momoa the other day let it slip that Ben is back. Now, whether he meant he's back for Aquaman 2 or he's back as Batman full time, I think the cat is slowly coming out of the bag when it comes to that, and that Ben Affleck is certainly back because now they've switched the running order again, and it looks like there's Flashpoint first and then Aquaman 2. Well, then it makes no sense if Ben Affleck is in Aquaman 2, which now takes place after Flashpoint. Then it's pretty clear that he is back as a DCEU Batman. Lots of people are saying that now it is Henry Cavill in the Shazam, not Shazam, Black Adam post-credit scene. It's almost nailed on. For me, though, I worry about this because it was nailed on that he was going to be at Comic Con and he wasn't. Um, and I honestly think that if he does not come in this post-credit sequence of Black Adam and there is no announcement, I'd rather think that film is going to blow up in their faces big time. It's almost like that there is now a groundswell of expectation that Henry Cavill is coming back. What does this mean for the Snyderverse? I don't think the Snyderverse will be restored, but I do think that the Snyder cast will be restored. Now, this is not to say that Zack Snyder can't return 4, 5, 6 years down the line and finish off with these guys as was intended. That I think for many fans, not for all fans, but for many fans, that would be the perfect end to this. In that, you get a couple of Superman movies, maybe Chris McQuarrie directing or something like that. You get the Batman, Batfleck, Deathstroke movie that everybody wanted to see. You get the Wonder Woman 3 that is not the. Although I defended Wonder Woman 84, I got it for what it was, but it certainly doesn't fit in that universe. You get a Wonder Woman 3 that fits in more with this more dark adult tone that the DC universe seems to have gone down, and then bring it to a close in 10 years with Justice League Part 3 by Zack Snyder. That would be the perfect scenario. Whether that will happen or not, but I do really, really think they're going to continue with the Snyder cast. That seems to make sense. But if they don't reveal Henry Cavill in this Shazam movie, or don't come out with a Black Adam movie, and don't come out with an announcement, I do think that movie will get, to use the quote of the day, I think that's going to get review bombed, because I don't think that The Rock, as much as a big movie star that he is, he's playing a character that isn't that well known, and he's not that good of an actor. I think I said this last week. He's always The Rock, so it's going to be Black Adam / The Rock, right? So they're going to need something.
Yes, and I just want to thank Jimmy Simpkins Jr. for your generous donation to Positive Fandom today. I so appreciate it. It does help me to continue with the channel. You have always been very supportive, and I do want to acknowledge that you have contributed to the channel. Thank you so much. It is very generous of you. I am grateful. And I hope you're having a good day. Yeah, Russ, I got excited about Cavill after seeing The Peacemaker, because we saw, everybody but Superman, and they didn't show a face. And I wondered why we didn't see that. So honestly, I still think that he will show up. I think that was an indication he was going to be there. Maybe they couldn't show him. My fantasy was that they couldn't show him because he was a different iteration of Superman, not meaning a different actor, but some other iteration. So something.
Well, we can only hope not. I mean, we got to hope that it is not a different iteration than that. Well, it can't, because you got Aquaman and Flash were there, and they're part of that Justice League. So it was contractual, wasn't it? He just hadn't signed a contract with them, and he wants more money and he wants more creative control. And Danny Garcia, his agent, and coincidentally, The Rock's ex-wife and agent, is basically linking Cavill to absolutely everything. He's going to be the next James Bond 1 minute. He's going to be Cyclops the next. He's going to be Supreme the next. He's going to be Highlander the next. Naming what's coming out soon. Maybe he's going to be the next Jason Bourne. This woman is putting him out there, as I said last week, because she's basically got Zaslav by the balls and she's milking those balls for as much cash and control as she can. And fair play to her. As I said last week, if I was Henry Cavill, looking at the way that Hamadaverse was going, damn right I'd want creative control over my movie, because I could almost see what those people with their particular vision. These were the people that thought that Batgirl and Supergirl could replace Batman and Superman and take the universe down that way. You can see what would have happened in a Superman movie. Damn right I'd want creative control, because he loves that character, and he wants to be recognized as a great Superman. Everyone has said this. He's the best one since Christopher Reeves. Some whisper it in quiet, quiet corridors. Perhaps he's even better. He's more of our times. It's not as hokey and as corny as perfect as Reeves was. It was nearly 50 years ago now.
Reeves was a little campy. It's okay, but that was the time period.
That was the time it was in. So dare it be said, and that guy needs a couple of movies to really, really show us, and perhaps not under the auspices of Zack Snyder, who can be divisive. I think he's a genius. Other people think he's a hack, right? So it's what you like. So come on, give us the Superman movie. In what reality are we getting a Birds of Prey movie, a Wonder Twins movie, God knows what else that they were going to do, a Batgirl movie, and yet we don't have a Superman movie? What are you thinking? And I think that this Dan Lin guy that's come in, if he does, thank God it's not Greg Berlanti. That's all I can say. But if he must be looking at what's going on. Zaslav must be looking at what's going on, watching Marvel tread on their own winkies, falling all over themselves. They've gone down this route of self-aware comedy parody, whereas they're denigrating their own heroes. They're making fun of Thor. They're making fun of Captain America. Carpe diem, DC. This is your time to shine. People are looking for something more mature. They're looking for something darker, and you've got it in spades. You've got the foundation there built by Zack Snyder. It is a darker universe. I always think that film is ahead of its time. Man of Steel, but BVS way ahead of their time. Now's the time. You got to move. None of these people are getting any younger, and I just praying that we get this, because if I don't know what they'll do if they don't get Cavill. Then I just don't know what they're going to do.
Well, for those of you out there who have any control over what happens, and for Henry Cavill, not that he would ever watch this, we definitely want you back as Superman. So don't tire yourself out playing all these other roles. We love you in everything you do, but you are our Superman, and we really don't want to settle for any less. We hope the studios give you 100 million, 200 million, whatever you ask for, with the control you need. We give it to you. We salute you, Henry Cavill. You've made Superman one of the most exciting characters, and we are still enjoying the films you made in 2013, Mr. Cavill.
You know what, Aram? He made us believe a man could fly again.
Yes,
that's what he did. There was no one that was ever going to be as good as Christopher Reeve until Henry Cavill. And now there's a debate.
Gosh, I want to talk more about it, but we're running out of time. I don't like running out of time. Lorena, I also do love Outlander. And Lorena, you and I might have to talk about more of these costume drama reviews, my dear. So enjoy doing those reviews with you. You all have been so wonderful today. Mikey Lito with his cup of coffee. Gary saying, I'm British. Hello there. LOL. There was one other person who hopped in. Is it Juan Rodriguez? Hi, do you like anime and still watch? Some of you do. Which ones? Yes, I do watch anime with Lorena. We are watching Stone Ocean on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. We also watch on her channel Howl's Moving Castle, and we're going to continue to watch more. I love anime. I also watched Bastard anime. So I like a variety. To answer your question, and welcome. Stubble says sex scenes and action scenes are similar in their structure. They are often scenes of passion, and it's boring if you write them blow by blow rather than focusing on the emotional impact, which is why that comment by Bean was so important. Those particular things in the moment were so important. And gee, we only have a few minutes. Mario Lopez says, hi, I'm visiting the Palace of Mafra, so I'll see the show later. That sounds wonderful, Mario. You enjoy your wonderful day. Mighty Orbots is here as well. Nice to see you, Mighty Orbots. And I think that's everybody. So nice to see you all. Efron Guzman. Hello, Efron. It's good to see you. He says, I think Cavill will still be Superman, and I'm just holding on. Just holding on. We are all holding on. Russ, where can people find you? And hello to Cam Cam's Crash courses as well. Where can people find you, Russ?
I have a website that's 100 years out of date that you've been pimping out this afternoon. Thank you so much, everyone. So you can always email me at contact@russellwhitfield.com. But more importantly, where can we find you, RM?
Well, guys, you can find me here on Positive Fandom. This is Russ's book, Gladiatrix. So please do pick it up. It's not available on Amazon Mexico, as someone mentioned, and I'm sorry about that. But certainly do try and see if you can get it. I, of course, will be. Thank you, Lorena, for the comments. Certainly, Lorena is recommending One Punch Man season 2, another fantastic anime as well. So, guys, what I was going to say is that you can find me here on Positive Fandom. I stream on YouTube as well as Odysee and Twitch. Also, you can find me on Toxic Femininity on Monday nights on Midnight's Edge at 8 p.m. Sometimes on Wednesdays and Thursdays, you can find me on the 1/6 Scale Man Network or on El Profesoro's Network for Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels. You can also find me streaming on Lorena's Twitch channel on our show, Toxic Male Appreciation. On Fridays, you can find me at 12 p.m. streaming on Midnight's Edge in the morning with Tom and Andre. On the weekends, you can find me streaming with Robert Meyer Burnett on our show, Midnight Musings. And of course, on Sundays, you can find me here at 10:30 a.m. in the morning, certainly with our Sunday brunch show here. Oh, and we have Shadow. Hello, Paul Shadow. Such a big fan of yours. Hi, Paul. Hope we can get some wind in the sails of a new world order. Certainly, Paul, you certainly, guys, subscribe to Paul Shadow's channel if you haven't already. My favorite video of his is the red shirt guy. Paul, you know that Lorena and I have a show about toxic male appreciation. We love masculinity and we reject modernity. So guys, please do check out our channel. Guys, check out everybody's channel here. Retro Nerd Girl, Shadow, Mikey Lito. Certainly do support all of the creators out there. That's what we're here for. But I certainly do love the masculinity that I saw in the Rings. The Dragon, House of the Dragon show. What an incredible display of masculinity. I love seeing that. And I think that adds to the appeal. And Paul has mentioned in quite a few of his videos that there is a good focus on male characters and that people are coming back to see male characters. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that men are great. And and these male characters that they are focusing on in these stories are fantastic. So let's enjoy them and let's celebrate those characters. We certainly did see that in House of the Dragon. Maybe we'll find out what the other show, which everybody is saying is not so great, the Ring show. Russ, one of these days we can talk about that. But honestly, Russ,
I can hardly wait.
honestly, Russ, House of the Dragon is certainly something that I have been enjoying. Thank you for everybody who stopped by. Certainly do check out Lorena's channel. Certainly do check out Paul Shadow's channel. He certainly is a joy to watch, guys. And also check out Paul Shadow's review of the TV guides. For those of you who may not know what those are, but I think you all do. He reviews all TV guides and the shows that have come out. And it is very interesting to see his analysis.
There's a blue thunder, right?
Absolutely. Paul, it's such a pleasure seeing you here. The same to you, Retro Nerd Girl. She says, it's been fun, Russ, and this awesome chat. Have a great week ahead. Well, you guys have a wonderful week ahead. And I am going to absolutely play my outro by CJ. Yes, I'm going to play the outro. It's actually an intro, but I just play it. I just like this thing. And like it feel, he's been so kind to make it for me. On behalf of Russ and myself, just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope everybody has a great day and a great week ahead. And in regards to everybody here in Positive Fandom, guys, I hope you all definitely stay safe and always remember to please be kind. Bye, everybody.